Virtual Motorsports is now. This September, the heart of sim racing beats in Chicagoland as the Sim Gaming Expo takes over the Schaumburg Convention Center, September 5th through the 7th. Go wheel to wheel in our competition area, test the latest gear, meet top brands, creators, and celebrate with fellow sim racing enthusiasts. Whether you're a seasoned sim racer or new to the sport, this is your chance to be part of history. To purchase tickets and see the full exhibitor lineup, visit SimGamingExpo.com.
Located at the intersection of Interstate 35 West and Texas State Highway 114 is Texas Motor Speedway. And tonight, that track is host to the CM Pennington Memorial 44 presented by the Sim Gaming Expo Series. Hello everyone, welcome in Derrick Watson alongside Emmett Crow. Evan Posocco, under the weather, has the night off. Well, Emmett, here we are. Everything's bigger in Texas. Includes the racing, the field size, and everything else at Texas. Welcome into a fun night.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me once again. Hope Evan the best on his recovery. But we just hoping for a good race tonight. And this is a great track. You know, I've actually got to experience this track in person and seen some really great racing. Tires. That's going to be the focal point for tonight, though.
So there'll be a few focal points here, but let's take a focus point and look at the schedule first off. We're going to get into the kind of the bigger track section for a couple weeks here. Tonight at Texas, next week at Kansas, both of those 1.5 mile tracks. Then we'll go back to a shorter track, less than a mile, Rockingham Speedway. Then we'll finish up at Charlotte, Nashville, and then the big track, Michigan International Speedway on June 4th will be the Season 1 finale for the Sim Gaming Expo Truck Series. Now let's go and take a look at the driver points. Last week, a big shakeup. Mark Kalin finished second, but took the lead. Has an 11-point lead over both Steve Loving and Ted Lowendick. Both those guys at 119 points. Bradley Holly back in P4. Richard Regan, remember he got wrecked out last week, back to P5. And then it's Nathan Deering, Colton Lane, Steve Baker, Robert Barney, and Nicholas Hunter rounding your top 10. All right, Emmett, how did the team points look?
Well, we see Whataback Racing in first, and then we see Solpec Precision Racing in second, Regan Bogue Motorsports Green in third, Grinds Racing in fourth, Regan Bogue Motorsports Neon in fifth, Regan Bogue Developmental in sixth, BBRC Adams Family in seventh, Rapid Theft in eighth, the Gold Octopus Motorsports Gold in ninth, and 10th would be Tabula Rasa Esports.
Yeah, those names are a tongue twister for sure, aren't they? You kind of get wrapped up on all those different forms of. But it shows you the impact Regan Bogue has here on the league. The fact they have so many different drivers and teams who want to participate. So that's pretty awesome to see those team points and some close battles. We'll see how they form as this season rolls on. Well, here we are in Texas. Look at that big jumbo screen. You'll see that, but let's talk about that in a moment. First, let's get and thank in our sponsors. First off, the Sim Gaming Expo. Get ready for the ultimate simulation gaming experience. The Sim Gaming Expo is bringing all genres of simulation and gaming technology under one roof. Please join us September 5th through the 7th in Chicagoland at the Schaumburg Convention Center to try out the latest gear from the biggest brands in the industry. You can meet your favorite streamers and celebrate your passion for simulation with an incredible community. Do not miss out on this event. You can get your tickets now at SimGamingExpo.com and be part of simulation gaming history. Next up is Miracle Flow. Miracle Flow is more than just hair care. It's built for the bold. Now, they were born in Rochester, New York in 2015. Miracle Flow was created out of vision and necessity to level up the flow and lifestyle that comes with it. They're made right here in the USA, and their products are crafted for quality and performance you can count on. Whether you're lined up with the boys getting ready to go to war or stepping out looking sharp, Miracle Flow keeps you looking fresh and feeling unstoppable. No shortcuts, no gimmicks, just real results that speak for themselves. Miracle Flow, because your flow isn't just style, it's a statement. Profit Python. Every second counts on the track, and in making money, just the same, it counts. Like a perfect pit stop, the right deal at the right time means big profits. So introducing Profit Python, the ultimate Discord for deal hunters and side hustlers. Get blazing fast alerts on price drops, secret sales, and hidden jackpots before anyone else. The profit race is on. Do not get left in the dust. Join now at www.whop.com. That's WHOP.com/Profit Python. Profit Python. Strike fast, profit faster. Next up is Regan Bogue Motorsport. My producer's messing with me. Sorry. Next up is CTNNB1. In racing and in real life, every second counts. That's the spirit behind CTNNB1 Connect and Cure. A team of families, researchers, and advocates all focused on chasing bold breakthroughs for CTNNB1 syndrome, a rare genetic condition impacting movement and development. They're funding cutting-edge research, fast-tracking treatments, and giving hope to families across the globe. One cure won't fit all, so they're striving and driving for many solutions for every child out there. Want to make an impact? Join the movement and help cross the finish line to a cure. Head to curectnnb1.org to get involved. CTNNB1, Connect and Cure, one mission, many solutions. Regan Bogue Motorsports. Speed is just a starting point. Success, however, is built through discipline, focus, and development. Now, at Regan Bogue Motorsports, our iRacing coaching is built to develop winners. Through one-on-one training, they focus on fundamentals that turn fast drivers into champions. They teach them smart racecraft and make disciplined decisions. Our pressure-proof performance shows our own results. This isn't about chasing quick results. It's about building the foundation for fasting success. Regan Bogue Motorsports, developed for wins, built for champions. Mr. Hedge. Sim racing is full of unforgettable moments, so make sure you capture them with Mr. Hedge iRacing photography. From action shots of your first win to slick stills of your latest livery, or even that wild crash you'll never live down, well, you can get them turned into memories worth sharing with Mr. Hedge iRacing photography. Simple, sharp, and made just for sim racers. Check out mrhedge.co.uk and get your best moments in focus. Mr. Hedge, capture the race, relive the moment. And now tonight for our race sponsor, and it's a memorial. As we get ready for tonight's race, we'll take a moment to honor the memory of CM Pennington, who passed away 2 years ago. CM was a dedicated racer and valued part of this community. While he kept to his close circle, his commitment to the sim and his team was always clear. He raced with heart, consistency, and quiet strength. Qualities that left a lasting impression on those who knew him and those who raced with him. We remember him tonight with respect and appreciation. If you want to do the same in chat, on Twitter, on Facebook, anywhere else, please use the hashtag 44ever. CM Pennington, we miss you, buddy. It's hard to believe it's already been 2 years. Man, oh man. Well, take that moment and transition, Emmett, here as we take a look at qualifying, which I believe we're just about done with here. And we'll wait for those results to pop up here in a moment. So let's go and take a look at the starting grid for this race. It'll pop up in just a moment. I can tell you right now, Richard Regan Jr. is on the pole. A 29.706 has Bradley Holly to his outside in that number 184 machine. Moving back into row number 2 will be Thomas Sink in the 48 Grinds machine next to Mark Kalin, part of Solpeck Precision Racing. Number 5, Nathan Deering, part of Regan Bogue Motorsports Green, next to Robert Barney, Regan Bogue Developmental.
Yeah, in 7th, we'll find Andrew Sharp lining up next to Doug Evans in the 41 in 8th. And in 9th, it'll be James O'Brien lining up next to Stephen Baker in 10th. And then we'll go Drew Wilk lining up next to Steve Loving in 12th.
Moving back into P13 here, we'll go ahead and find Mike Toomer Jr. next to Ted Lowendick. Moving back into P15, Austin Hunter. Back here after a couple weeks off, he'll be next to Jeff Evans in that very colorful number 51 truck. And then Garrett Austin, P17, Gold Octopus Motorsports Gold, next to Brett Adams, part of the Adams family.
Then we'll find Blaine Adams in 19th, lined up next to Kyle Dewey in 20th. And then we'll find Jacob Dunn in the 3, lining up next to Nick Hunter in the 19 and 22nd. Then Evan Williams in the 6 and 23rd, and Stacy Hunter in the 71 and 24th.
Number 25th, Dustin Bumgarner, part of Regan Bow Developmental, lines up next to Josh Conker, part of Team Hype. Number 27, Daniel Knight. And then at 28th, Colton Lane. And then moving back here, 29th, Matt Gagnon, all the way back deep in 29th, and P30, James Morgan, part of Tom Bidarossi Esports. Brandon Walter. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. The 31st, we'll find Brandon Walter in the 99, lined up next to Reese Bogue in the 4. And 33rd will be Colton Easterday in the 95 and 33rd, and Nick Bayer in the 15 and 34th.
Moving on back, Zachary Burnt, P35, Gold Octopus Gold again, next to Nathan Ray, back in P36. 37th, Nicholas Schwartz with Zachary Williams, all the way back in 38, that nice Napa machine. Brian Tope, back there in the 54, with Nicholas Saraf, back in P40. And that rounds out your 40 truck field. That's a look top to bottom at your starting grid. All right, well, we have one more lap of racing here by the Nathan Ray. We're being told now not racing this evening, so that'll be a 39 truck field. Well, you talked, Emmett, about how you've experienced this track before. Remember a few years ago, went through the repave. We'll talk about that as the night goes on. But what are your 2 or 3 keys to victory if anyone wants to pull off the perfect Texas two-step?
So if you want to win here at Texas, it's all about the right moment, when you can get the right momentum. Of course, the good thing is there's no PG1 compound or resin on this track. So it's all about that right moment. When are you going to make the move? Is your tires going to be able to last? Are you going to be able to save your tires in time to make that move for sure?
Well, let's see who can make that move. Of course, Richard Regan up on the pole tonight. Had a good first half of a race last week. Was not feeling well. We kind of joked he was trying for his MJ flu game. Got caught up in a wreck and wrecked out early. Bradley Holly's up there. Numerous league wins across his Irish career. Over 100 oval and I think over 300 total league wins for Bradley Holly. So many names up and down this field here. So 75 minutes of racing. Do you expect to see people go all out in the first 5 minutes? Or do you think people would want to save their equipment?
You know, we said that they might want to save their equipment at Dover, and they went all out. So I'm going to retract what I said last week, and I'm going to say they're going to go all out in this first 5 laps.
That's not a bad bet. I would put money on that. Season drivers here. Getting warmed up, make sure the force feedback works, making sure the wheels work, getting a little bit of bob and weave in. Just kind of have a little fun before the green flag falls. Well, here we are. The beautiful track opened originally back in 1996. Hosted numerous NASCAR and IndyCar events over the years. Along with some other notable music festivals and other exciting moments. Well, the pace car's down. It's in the hands of Richard Regan Jr. Once again, here for the Premier Sim Racing Truck Series. Green flag is in the air. Oh, caution's out already. Oh, big wreck up through turns 1 and 2. 1, 2, 3, 4 cars. Trucks, pardon me, up in the wall. It's Jacob Dunn. That's the 33 up there I saw. There's Colton Lane stuck down on the bottom, the 60 machine after a great run last week. Josh Conker, you see, he has mandatory repairs. He's done, more than likely. It's a big moment here. Everything's bigger in Texas, including the wrecks in turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, as we get ready to take a look at the replay, I don't know what happened. I saw a truck get It was already down on the apron, hit the wall. I don't know what happened. There must have been some kind of checkup or something, and nobody knew. Man,
didn't have time to react. We'll wait and see. You're right. I thought I saw, I think Jacob Dunn was involved in the beginning of that. I'm not sure yet, but we'll wait and see here. Well, here we are working our first caution on lap 1. Let's see, maybe in a moment we'll find a better clip of that wreck and see kind of where it started. Here we go. Let's watch on board, part of Team Hype here. This
so it looks
Josh
like
Conker. Oh,
it looked like, I couldn't tell. It was one of those bright yellow neon trucks. Was already on the apron and hitting the wall.
Yeah, it looks like that self spin got in the way. You're right, and sort of created some chaos. Maybe Mike Toomer was the one. We'll wait and see if we can get a couple more angles of it here. But lots of trucks now need to come down pit road and get some damage fixed. Here's the restart. So watch the bottom of your screen. That black and green machine. There's Mike Toomer. Oh, he got body checked by Loving. Yep.
Wow.
And sit still. Tries to get it back on track. Well, that's the beginning of it, but the wreck went on by him. I think maybe some people checked up for the wreck and some more stuff happened. But
that's exactly what I'm thinking, Derek. I think they checked up and they were expecting, they could have been expecting that caution, and that caused the field to get bottled up. And yeah, tough break for a lot of great trucks.
Yeah, it is a tough break. You're seeing the pit stop times on the side of your screen here. That'll show you how long drivers are on pit road. You see Ted Lewandix down there for over almost 30 seconds now. There's going to be some big repairs. So watch one more time. And Jacob Dunn got up top there. And
man.
Yeah. Everyone just sort of checking up for the wreck. Everyone kind of scrolled around, made some small contact, and it turned into big contact.
And the 19 got a big hit.
Yeah, unfortunately, just never had time to react. See, look on the other side, Nick Byer over almost a minute of repairs. Jacob Dunn's closing in a minute. Kyle Brandt. So this will be a big hit to a lot of drivers. So we'll see how this impacts the rest of the night here. But I mean, overall, as far as the racing, unfortunately, only a quarter of a lap in. Not really much we could have learned from that, right, Emmett?
Yeah, not much, but tough break for both Coltons, as Colton Lane and Colton Easterday were involved in that wreck. So tough break for them. And then Nick Hunter took a hard hit in the 19, for sure.
We'll see who can get out here and keep things moving along. You see some cars coming off of pit road. There's Colton Lane. And, well, here we are. We're double followed up here. We're going to get ready to go green once again. So again, it's Regan, Holly, Sink, Kalen, and Deering, your top 5. No big movers so far. Maybe up or down one spot, minus those who wrecked. Well, let's see if we can make it happen. Once again, well, I can tell you what we did learn from that restart. They are not afraid to go 3 wide. While Richard Regan cleared the field early, they were 3 wide quickly back in the middle of the field.
They definitely were, and that's what, like me and you were talking, when we were talking about putting our money on, they're not going to save their equipment. These boys are letting it all hang out early on, and it's definitely going to make for some great racing for sure.
Let's try it again. See what can happen here. And there's a truck.
The 5.
The 5. That's Nathan Deering. If we can get a word on that. Not sure why that's going to be the case. But here we go. Green flags back in the air. Richard Regan's going to lead him around. Well, Nathan Deering has called it a night. He is disconnected from the server.
Wow.
So see if we can follow up on that, see what happened. But here they come out of turn number 2. Richard Regan leads the field here.
Yeah, look at Thomas Sink making that move to shoot up to that high side and block Bradley Holly and get that draft and try to get some momentum. But, Derek, there's great racing all over this track for sure.
It is great racing indeed. Like 2, 3 wide through the quad oval. And they sort of start to sort it out because you get 3 wide's almost undoable. 4 wide will not be doable through that quad oval. See, everyone's back to 2 wide and the truck way up top. Stacy Hunter, my goodness, in the SimGamingExpo truck, way to the top of the track.
Yeah, I think he just got in the marbles right there and just got real loose. But as we see right here, Doug Evans battling with Drew Wilkie for the 8th position, and these two are actually, it's going to be a 3-wide battle for the 8th position, as now Steve Baker has entered the picture for sure.
See, almost touching. They get it sorted out. That truck up top goes high, and that's the preferred line through the corners, right? To get up top and sort of ride the outside lane out of the corners, right?
That you can do that, but in these trucks, I like to run the high line on the straightaways, and then when I get into the corners, kind of diamond the corner and get it down to that bottom line as close as I can, because that's where all the speed's going to be.
See who can find all the speed in this track so far. It is Richard Regan's already pulling himself out with 0.2 of a second lead here on the field. And back there, you're still seeing a bunch of 2-wide racing. See one of the team hype machines, the 38 truck down here, doing a great job getting down that corner, almost in the white line.
What a block.
All right, so to walk you through the perspective of a driver here, Emmett. So we had that, first lap wreck. Everyone kind of got a little nervous, a little tense. Now, how do you kind of shake that off? How do you kind of go, okay, how do you now find that rhythm? Did that caution mess with your rhythm at all?
I don't think it messed with your rhythm. I think you stay focused. And now if you let your focus go away, then yes, it could mess with your rhythm. But you just focus on the race, hit your marks, and just have a clean race.
Well, pretty quickly, this race has single filed out another truck. That's Jacob Dunn back down pit road. Probably didn't realize that just the repairs needed to be get more before it was done. But here we are crashing. That's Matt Gagnon. So up on the wall. There he is, the 14 truck. We're going to wait to see what may be the culprit to assist in that. I just turned my head and saw Gagnon a little bit sideways there. Matt, of course, missed last week's race at Dover.
You see the end of the line penalty being shown now for Gagnon for causing the caution.
Let's take a look here and see. Oh, it's kind of blinked out.
I don't think he caused that caution. I think he had a little help.
I mean, you can debate that his internet connection may have helped, because if you don't know where he is,
right,
it's hard not to hit him, right? So
definitely. It looked like, though, if we go back, Derrick, and take another look, it looked like he was already sideways before he started blinking. So
and that may be the case as well. So
I don't know. That's a tough call.
All right, well, you see at the top of the ticker about 1 hour, 6.5 minutes left in this race. That means we're about 8.5 minutes in here to this race, already working our second caution. And I know a lot of drivers were hoping with how big this track is, Emmett, with how big and wide it is, that maybe we get to a point where we can kind of open up a run here and have some fun with it.
Yeah, the thing about this track is if you get out in that clean air, just like Richard Regan is, as you can see, he pulls out. And if you get in that clean air, you can jump out to about a second or two lead real quick here at Texas. If we take a look.
Well, when doing some research about this track today, learned a lot about the repave, and the reason for the repave struck me. Let's watch this replay again here. This will be from the back of Loving. Yeah, it's hard to tell. I mean, once again, with that internet problem not blinking, it's hard to assign blame there, because I mean, if you're stable, if your connection's not stable, it's hard for anyone to have confidence about where you are, right? It's just, that's not fair to other drivers. So we'll wait and see how that gets sorted out and who does or doesn't get assigned blame for that. That'll be part of the race steward's job post-race to look at that. I was surprised by the repave that happened in this track. And the reason for it wasn't for better racing. It was because it took the track too long to dry because of the old surface. So that was the biggest cause. They wanted to get this thing to dry faster. So they came in and did a repave on it. And we'll change some of the turns. We'll talk about that in a little bit here. But much wider lanes at Texas.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Derrick. But I was going to say, I was actually at that playoff race when they ran the doubleheader during COVID in 2020, and the trucks ran in the morning. We got to see the end of the truck race, and then the cup race went, and it rained. They ran half of the cup, not even half of the cup race, and it rained for 3 straight days. So yeah, I can understand why they're doing that. But then we go back to, what was that, 21, 22, when we had all the tire problems at Texas. So that could also play a factor too with the repavement. And I think that's why Goodyear made a better tire for the 1.5 miles, for sure.
Yeah, so part of that repave was taking turns 1 and 2 from 24 degrees to 20 degrees. So, by the way, something to talk about in this track, and we'll get there. These corners are not equal. The second part is they took and they gave an extra 20 feet of racing through the corners, from 60 feet to 80 feet. That doesn't sound like a lot, feet, but man, when you're on the track and in those trucks, there's a whole extra space to get up there and race with. So, turns 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 are different because of the banking limit. So do you think that'll cause some problems? Maybe somebody's better at 1 and 2 and not as great as 3 and 4, or vice versa?
Well, I'll tell you, it makes for some exciting racing, coming out of 1 and 2. But then when you get down the backstretch and then come into 3, 3 is where you get your biggest runs, and then 4, and then the quad oval. 4 is a good place to set up for that late race pass in the quad oval. But I'll tell you, Derek, a lot of people don't know that there's actually a Buc-ee's right across the street. So great place to go get your snacks and everything before you go to the race.
Well, speaking of going racing, here we are back. Green flag once again. Richard Regan Jr. chose the top lane, and it's Thomas Inc. on the inside. He's about to get passed, or attempted to get passed, by Bradley Holly, but they're going to work it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars already single files come out of turn number 2.
Yeah, they're already single file, and you see Richard Regan Jr. in that clean air like I was talking about before. Once you get in that clean air, but I'll tell you, Sink is right up on the back bumper getting that drafting help from Bradley Holly. And we take a look at Bradley Holly. He's really on it, focus. Got the nice, going to give us a nice look with that camera on the in-car cam. So great shot from Bradley Holly for sure.
Yeah, really great shot from Bradley Holly. Gives a nice perspective of that room. Kind of gets you immersed in his sim racing experience. And here he is, running Peter. He's about to get passed by Mark Kalin. Mark Kalin's making an incredible run and trying to stick it to the bottom, but just, I think, give him a little too much speed trying to stick it to the bottom. So come out of 4 now and back to the start-finish line.
Yeah, as we take another look at our Talladega winner, Mr. Mark Kalin. Finished second last week at Dover in an unbelievable finish with Mr. Steve Loving. Great race for sure. So good to see Mark coming back and trying to get this win and building that points lead for sure.
Yeah, speaking of that win, you see in the bottom of our brand new feature here on Green Flag TV, the fast ticker. So we did an incredible finish, 4 thousandths of a second last week, by the way. The Speed Cup Series the next night at Talladega went and we did 5 thousandths of a second on a side-by-side battle at Talladega. So the intensity has been all across Green Flag TV in the past week with the different results and finishes. Well, here we are. Look at there. There's James Morgan. He's back this week after not being allowed to race last week in that 12 machine. And he is quickly trying to get up here to Doug Evans.
Yeah, trying to get up here to Doug Evans. And Doug Evans trying to catch, meanwhile, Dustin Bumgardner. So they're trying to battle Bumgardner for the 13th position. So, but Doug Evans, he's got a good truck in the corner. Wow.
Is that dirty air, you think? Is that what's happened to Morgan? I thought the air would have helped with the draft, but he fell back quickly.
Yeah, you wonder about that because as we see now, he got a great run. I mean, if you get that truck just ever so slightly on the white line, you can get loose and you'll fall back. So, I mean, that could have happened. It's tough to call, for sure.
Now he has gotten around Doug Evans, and he's quickly trying to work his way to the front. Morgan, a former race winner himself in previous leagues, and has a great attitude about his racing. I know he's one of the drivers planning to go to the SimGamingExpo in September in Chicago. So if you're getting tickets, you'll see himself. Jacob Dunn, I think Bradley Holly is going to be there. Mark Kalin and others are going to be there. So a few different drivers from this league will be in attendance at that event in September.
What a great community event. Having an expo for sim racers, that's unbelievable. That's awesome right there. These guys get to meet their fans, and definitely really great to hear and see that going on. Whoa, man.
Wow, look at that. Bradley Holly now under attack here. That's going to be by Robert Barney. And Robert is trying to get up here and see if he can get to the bottom of this track. You said you kind of want to get to the bottom of the track. You know, you mentioned diamonding the track. So let's do two things here. First, if we got some family and friends watching who don't quite understand, explain to us what diamonding the track means.
So diamond in the corner is you get up on that high, like down the backstretch, you get right up next to the wall, and then when you get into the turn, you let the car just drift all the way down to the bottom, and then you're just feathering the throttle. Because you're not on the brake all the way, you're actually just letting off the gas a little bit, and you're just if you get on the gas too quick, you can ultimately spin out. But yeah, it provides some great lap times. And that's my take on diamond in the corner.
I think the important part of diamond in the corner, however, that we don't talk a lot about this in oval racing, I don't think, is you really almost got to hit the apex of that corner, right? It's about the part of the corner you hit at the bottom before coming back up, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And then, like you said, we don't talk about it really, but a lot of the short tracks, I know Richmond for sure. A lot of the guys, they'll diamond those corners all day because the way the track is laid out, how it looks like a cookie cutter. They'll get some fast times by and if you watch the cup cars, how they go into the corner, you can see I believe it's Joey Logano diamonds it perfect every time.
Oh, look at this battle. This is, speaking of perfect, this is a picture perfect moment right here. Ted Lowendick, after being involved in that opening incident, Doug Evans is back here. Austin Hunter, Steve Loving is back here. These guys are racing pretty hard back here for P16. Austin Hunter back after a couple weeks off. Glad to see him back. And, you know, he told me he needs to find something to find that little tick of motivation. Sometimes I think through anything in life, whether it's sim racing, you know, sports, anything, you kind of get yourself into a mental slump where it's just harder to get motivated to get up, whether it be going maybe exercising or whatever has, you know, kind of gotten you down. When it comes to sim racing and you kind of get in that mental slump, how do you think you get over that? Is it just having a good result? Is it racing something different? What gets you over that mental slump?
I think you just try to find something that you gel with. You know, a lot of these guys, you may come and race.
Caution's out. Sorry to cut you off here. Caution's out.
You're
Wrecking in turn 3. That is Brian Topin, the 54. He's parked sideways. Part of Gold Octopus Motorsports Black. We'll come back to that conversation in a second here. Looks like just maybe the one truck involved here.
Like.
All right, well, he's got moving here, and I didn't see so far any other trucks that may be involved. We'll see here in the moment. Brian Tope's going to come around and catch the field here. Well, third caution out with about 56 minutes left in the race. Let's watch this here. Oh man. Contact with the truck.
Great.
I couldn't tell who it was.
Great effort by Brian for keeping that truck off the wall.
Now, unfortunately, keeping it off the wall also sort of led him into going across the front bumper of someone else's truck here. So that will bring out our third caution of the evening. Let's wait, take a look here. This will be from on board. This is Nick Byer. I don't know. That's pretty bang in my opinion. I don't know how you're going to figure out who did what there. The benefit of slow motion replay will help the stewards, I think.
Right, definitely. But I want to go back to what I was saying, Derrick. What I meant when he was spinning out, he kept it off the inside wall.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, everyone's down pit road. Not a surprise. Everyone will put gas and tires. Ted Lowendick. Now, remember, he would have came in earlier into that first caution and got some damage done. So he was able to gain a lot of spots. A 5-second pit stop. Likely fuel only for him. You see everyone else up and down the board. 15, 14 seconds. That's 4 tires and fuel.
I want to know what Lowendick's crew chief's thinking, because why would you not go for tires at Texas? Like, seriously.
Well, so it's a couple reasons. One would be that he came down, previously. So the other thing to think about here, there is tire set limits. And the reason I bring that up is I'm guessing what that means is that while getting damage fixed, Ted may have actually taken a set of tires in the first pit stop and needs to make sure he has an appropriate ration of tires left.
Oh, that's right. He was involved in the wreck. Okay, yeah. I forgot he was involved in that. first
First
costume.
wreck. Yep. So maybe he took tires in, by accident the first time, and so now he wants to save. But that'll move him pretty far up the field. That I think has him currently scored P4, I believe. Well, let's come back and finish that conversation we were having a second ago. And sorry for cutting it off. You were talking about how to get out of a slump when you have one. Let's go back. And so, what are your thoughts on how you escape those slumps when you kind of get in that mindset?
I think you just find something that you gel with. You get into like these leagues, and some guys may have better equipment than you, as far as actual equipment, and that might get you down. Takes a big confidence hit, but what really boosts your confidence is just having fun and just running a race and not getting mad and rage quitting or whatever. But yeah, just keeping your cool and keeping your mental health in focus for sure too.
Yeah, maybe finding a car track combo you love, just go racing it, or something will maybe help with that a little bit. Or hey, sometimes you do need to take a break. That's also something said as well, right? Sometimes those breaks are important. Well, speaking of breaks, this one's just about done. We're about to go green flag racing once again. Let's go to the top 5. Richard Regan, Thomas Sink, Mark Kalin, Ted Lowendick, Robert Barney, and then Bradley Holly back in P6. All right, well, let's get ready to do some boot, scoot, and boogie, because the green flag is back out here at Texas Motor Speedway. There's a truck already in the grass. There's Jacob Dunn, slow. I think that's Nicholas Schwartz back there, so I'm not sure who caused what. We'll see if we can get a view of that in just a moment. Meanwhile, we are still green flag racing at the front of the field here. This will be a big checkup here. This will be, watching here. It's from Nick Byers, where we just saw a truck. Oh, my gosh. Checkup. Wow. So that's how Schwartz ended up in the grass. Now, how Dunn ended up slow may or may not be related. I don't know. But I don't know.
Got a battle for the lead.
Felt weird because there was a gap between Schwartz and Mike Trimmer, I thought, up front. So I don't know. But Mark Kalin, now look at this. He has taken the lead, not only the points leader, but now the overall leader of this race, as he's now gotten around Richard Regan Jr. As someone who's watched Mark race for a couple, 2, 3, 4 years now, to explain to you the difference in Mark Kalin, I don't know what ticked. I don't know if it's just these trucks versus when he used to race the Xfinity cars. I don't know if it's just the track, the schedule, the confidence level. It's very different. Here's Jacob Dunn, by the way. He just checks up. He just wants to get out of the way, trying to avoid the incident limits. So that's what happened to Jacob Dunn. But watching this change of Mark Kalin, we talked a second ago about getting out of a slump when it came to Austin Hunter. For Mark Kalin, he's riding high currently.
Yeah, and a win will definitely do that for you. Mark Kalin wins at Talladega and then finishes in the runner-up position at Dover. Great finishes, got the points lead, and just building on that momentum to carry him on all the way till we get to Michigan for sure. Bradley Holly also fastest lap so far.
Yeah, there is a bonus point for that, so keep that in mind. Look at this. Now what I wonder is how good is Richard Regan in the dirty air? We've seen Richard lead a bunch of laps tonight, but how will he fare here behind Mark Kalin? Oh, 3 wide. Oh, my gosh. 3 wide to the quad oval.
Yeah, 3 wide. They're still 3 wide. Oh, there we go. What a save.
James Morgan holds on to the truck.
Wow.
Going to lose a bunch of spots, but that is likely already save. It will be save of the night.
For sure. Good Lord, that truck was sideways. Well, Derrick, you said it. You want to do a little boot scoot boogie. There's your little boot scoot booger right there. Man, look at that.
And look at the calmness in his hands. But look at the steering wheel to the left side. Just the way he did that. The way he didn't overreact. He didn't slam the wheel back and forth. Kept it calm, and he kept on moving on.
Well, I think I think he thought he was across the street at the old dirt track here at TMS. And, man, what a save. But, yeah, meanwhile, while that was going on, Richard Regan took back the lead from Mark Kalin.
Richard back to the front here. Mark Kalin's up in second. Robert Barney's up in third. So, new drivers trying to run down a race favorite, Richard Regan Jr. Let's watch this pass again here. We saw a lot going on, kind of missed it. So there's a truck going around Mark Cannon. Let's be set up here. I believe we're going to be coming out of 1 and 2 right here. Yep. Come down straight away.
Yeah, he set him up into turn 3, Derrick, and then was just able, just like I was saying earlier, that's where you want to set the guys up is turn 3, and that's where you get the big run coming down through that quad oval.
Well, speaking of setting up things, Robert Barney set himself up pretty well. He's now up to P2. He's gotten around Mark Kalin. And now it's Drew Wilkie, by the way, up in P4. Drew, his first race in a couple weeks, doing pretty well here. Let's watch Garrett Austin for a second here and watch this. And kind of clip the grass. You know what? That's not uncommon here at Texas, Emmett. When a driver maybe gets a little nervous through the quad oval, you just kind of cut the grass a little bit, right?
Yeah, but that can also be a scary thing because we think back to, what was that, 2023, when Ross Chastain clipped the grass and then Kyle Busch hit him and tore up the race car pretty bad in the All-Star race here at Texas.
Yeah, so typically if you look just at the bottom of those two corners in the quad oval, you'll see this a small hint of brown coloring on the tip of the grass. That's drivers are going to cut that all night long. It's just it's something about the perspective of that quad oval that really mess with the driver, and they'll want to turn a little too far left. And look at that. Well, now we're on board with the grinds machine here. It says twice the caffeine is what this truck says. By the way, of note, you and I talked about Ted Lowedick not taking tires. He has fallen all the way down to P19.
Wow.
But listen, I do think that's a strategy in the sense that he needed to ration those tires out. He'll suffer now, but maybe he'll come back later.
That's exactly right. As we got a battle for the lead going on right now, Derrick.
All right, well, here's Robert Barney. He's now going to try and take a small peek on the back straight. Went ahead and backed out of it. He's going to stay in line here. Now, if you're Robert Barney, what's more important to you, do you think? Taking the lead from Regan or maybe staying in line and building a bigger lead over the rest of the field and trying to battle out later on older tires?
That's a good question. I think you get these two trucks separated and you just ride around, and if you got the advantage, then yeah, make the pass and get in the clean air and jump out to about a second lead over Regan. But I think you just want to ride around here for now. And so we see Ted Lowedick.
Yeah, this is a great battle going on back here. Oh, Lowedick back there. Man, oh, man. That's Colton Easterday back there. Brandon Walters back there. And others on back. In fact, I believe that is going to be Reese Bogue back there with him before. And these guys are fighting hard. Well, these guys may be racing for 19th, but they're not racing like they're racing for 19th.
They're racing for the lead and the win. Good Lord.
And it's interesting to watch this, right? Because sometimes some people will kind of make the joke or the meme, oh, you're racing for 19th, racing for whatever. But hold on, body check on that truck. That's Thomas Sink, and everything's okay. But that was a small lean on that truck. That's 24 Andrew Sharp. He leaned on, but everything turned out okay. But coming back to that battle you saw a second ago, those were important, right? You talked about getting out of a slump. You talked about how to maybe mentally break a bad habit or how to get, quote unquote, happy, right? Those battles can make you feel good. Passing someone, whether it's for first, 5th, 10th, 19th, or last, can boost a little bit of confidence, right?
That's exactly right, Derrick. And then for me, if I was in here, I'd just be happy to finish in the top 20 because these are some great, talented drivers. And if I was able to get 20th, I'd feel like I won the race for sure.
And that's okay. Sometimes that's the expectations you have. It's one thing we ask our drivers about when we talk to them, before pre-race. We say, hey, what's the goal tonight? That's a common question I love to ask because not every driver has the goal of winning. Sometimes they get, hey, listen, this isn't my best track or what have you. But sort of a funny story here. We're riding on back with Colton Easterday here. Remember, Colton was almost as surprised as anyone last week with his good finish. He just kind of came in here very happy, very jolly. Steve Loving, our race winner last week, told me he wasn't sure where he was going to finish last week. So sometimes those expectations are not always where they actually finish. If we can go back to the front here, Let's talk about a story this week. Your second place driver, Robert Barney, told me, quote, "Not my favorite track." Says he's hoping to pull up a top 5, just has to race smart. So I say right now, he's doing all those things.
Yeah, and Barney building off the momentum. Last week's pole winner at Dover. So great to see him running up in second. And he's catching Regan each and every lap.
Doing a great job of running down Richard Regan here. You see the times on the left side of your screen on the ticker. So you can see that he is slowly working his way down. So is Drew Wilkie, pardon me. By the way, happy belated birthday to Mark Kalin. Had a birthday yesterday. I don't know if he turned 50 or 45 or 62, whatever he turned, but happy birthday, Mark. I don't think he's that old at all. I think he's I don't want to guess. I don't think his age has a 4 in it. I'll say that. I didn't remember what Facebook told me, but I don't think it was that high.
Yeah, as we see Drew Wilkie trying to give him a little birthday swat on the rear. Trying to on the back bumper of Mark Kalin.
What birthdays do you celebrate over there? Birthday swat on the rear. It's a whole different party right there. Well, Mark Kalin's gotten ahead here and trying to stay ahead of Drew Wilkie. In fact, he's now put a truck between them. That's Robert Barney because Kalin's now back to P2. By the way, Mark Kalin, Jeff Evans, Doug Evans, and others spent the weekend together. They got to go out and watch some NHRA drag racing. So that was a cool experience for them.
That was the 4-wide show, I believe, at Charlotte. Wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was as well. So they all get to hang out. And you sort of hit on that word earlier, community. And I think that's an important word for the Premier Sim Racing SimGamingExpo Truck Series, community. There's a lot of drivers here who hang out. Hold on.
Man.
Ted Lowendig. Oh, there's James Morgan in the 12. Spun around. Oh my gosh. What?
What just happened?
And the hell was that? The 54?
Oh my God.
Wow. That's going to be a replay and a half. I don't even, wow. Like, there's some things to unpack here. Holy crap. I said, no, let's go at the beginning. This is James Morgan. He's going to make a tap to the back rear end of that Prophet Python machine. He's going to get it back up on track. So it's the 99. The 99 is going to get hit here, I bet. Yep.
Boom.
Oh, my God. They just pile in. Guys, the caution's out.
Gosh. Yeah, this ain't like back in 2003 where you race back to the line. Caution comes out.
Well, they race back to the line. Don't you worry about that. Watch this again here.
Yeah.
There's Morgan. There's the 99. Oh, he got hit by somebody. My gosh.
Good Lord.
Wow. That's... I'm trying to get names on the trucks from that camera shot. It was hard to see the numbers on them, but...
I think Brandon Tope.
Yeah, Brian Tope.
Brian
Tope was the gray machine in the Stormtrooper outfit. And I think Brandon Walter was the 99 we saw.
Nick Byer. I think he was one of them.
Well, let's do this. For the first time tonight, let's talk with someone. Let's watch this replay one more time.
Oh, good Lord. Oh, my gosh.
That's
what a
scary
wild
onboard.
ride.
Scary, scary onboard. Well, let's do this. Let's go and bring in a driver right now. I'm going to bring in the driver of the 12 truck, James Morgan. Welcome to the broadcast booth. James, there were trucks flying over top of you there.
Yeah, I haven't completely seen the full replay yet. It looks like someone kind of got loose, and I was at an angle offset of the 6 and I just couldn't see the checkup. By the time I did, it was too late. I had gotten into him and then got hit from behind. And yeah, something weird happened there. There was, I guess, Netcode's car went completely through me, but I can't fix the damage completely.
The fact you can fix the damage at all might be a testament to the durability of the truck. All right, well, not the run you want so far. Is the truck still drivable?
No, we're done. We are done.
All right, well, probably not the return race you wanted, but I guess now you get to look ahead to Kansas.
Yeah, absolutely not the race that I wanted. Kansas is a good track for me, so hopefully we can get this back on the right track going forward, but it's not been a great season at all.
No, not your best. Well, we'll put you back down with your Talbot Rossi Esports teammate and Jacob Dunn, so maybe you can coach him to get to the front here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, guys.
All right, good luck.
I'll tell you, Derek, if I was James Morgan, I'd be going to change my shorts. Because I mean,
Watch for Nick Byer here. Watch this here. Watch his out.
oh my gosh, he just jumped over him. You know, they had the trophy trucks and they do the No Limits Texas stunt show here, and that's
They do
definitely
that.
what he just did.
Man. You know, I almost don't want to celebrate it because so one of the cool features about Texas, and I was going to talk about the features later, is this track. There's no way not to know the caution's out. That fence lights up yellow as could be.
Mhm.
That caution was out, Nick Byer. Like, I know it's hard. I know it's a split-second thing, but ooh. All right. Well, that happened. So let's look at it again. We got a new drivers up front here: Richard Regan Jr., James O'Brien, Steve Baker, Reese Bogue, and Mark Kalin. Now your top 5. By the way, Baker, O'Brien, Richard Regan, Reese Bogue, the 4 front drivers did not pit this time. They are the only 4 drivers not to have pitted. So let's see how this goes as the pace car comes down. Richard Regan's chosen the bottom lane on the restart. And let's see how fast new tires take control when the green flag is back out of Texas.
Yeah, we see Reese Bogue back up there trying to challenge. He's going to slide into the number 3 spot. Richard Regan takes him down to the bottom through turn 1, now turn 2, now coming down the backstretch. Bogue's trying to get up there, but he just can't do it, Derek.
Yeah, see how this is going to happen here. Because remember, these top 3, Regan, O'Brien, Bogue, they all work together. They're all good friends. O'Brien's part of Team Hype, but I believe he has a good working relationship with Regan Bogue. So these
Look
3
at
are
Mark Kalin.
hoping that they can block the field, but it's not going to happen. Kalin just bodied himself in here, went from 3rd to 2nd. Now he's on the back end of P1.
Look at the shot from Wilkie. Wilkie got a great run, and he's right up on the back bumper of Kalin, pushing him down the backstretch to the lead.
Bump drafting at Texas, not words I thought I'd say tonight, but there it is. Kalin, happy belated birthday, is going to lead yet another lap here at Texas.
Yeah, we see
Regan up high.
We see Bradley Holly trying to get into this mix. He wants to be in this party. He's going to shoot to the end. Actually, it's going to be Richard Regan shoot to the inside of Holly, but he just can't do it because Sharp and Daniel Knight make it 3 wide. So he's got his hands full, Derek, for sure.
Well, so far, Richard Regan's learning what Ted Lowendick learned earlier. These old tires matter here at Texas. Regan's gone from 1st to 7th in a matter of a couple laps here.
That's interesting. And Reese Bogue has dropped all the way back to 13th, by the way.
Yeah, not a surprise. I mean, it's only, I say not a surprise because we saw what happened earlier with Ted Lowendick. So it makes sense if it happened again.
Like I preached in the pre-race, tires, tires, tires.
Well, Mark Kalin now starting to pull away here. He's got Drew Wilkie and Bradley Holly behind him. And Kalin's now leading more laps, possibly leading more laps so far in Season 1 of PSR than he's led in any season of league racing I've known Mark Kalin to be a part of. Look at that, just very calm, very chill, very focused. Yeah, not every driver is like that. Some people are very animated behind the wheel.
Yeah, definitely. But I'll tell you, the interesting thing about Wilkie and Holly battling, Wilkie had the fastest lap for half the race until Holly knocked him off. So this is a great battle for second between these 2 trucks. And now we see, ooh, is that Richard Regan on pit road?
Taking a look 1 second to confirm that. That may be.
Brian Tote. I mean,
That's Brian
I
Tote,
believe
part
it's
of the
Brian
last round.
Tote, yeah.
Yeah, he's still down pit road from that big wreck we saw that caused that
Right.
last caution, and they sort of in ensuing flight control test that may have happened thereafter.
I was gonna say, I believe he was the one that went airborne. One of the ones.
One of many that went airborne. Yeah, right.
Yeah, definitely.
Here's Regan, by the way. He's still on track. He's now racing with the 34 Garrett Austin, and then Nick Schraub's right behind them. So let's talk about this decision right now by Regan, right? There's pros and cons to every decision you make on track. Pro may be you're saving tires for later. But what are the other pros and cons of trying this experiment mid-race?
I think you're looking at this and you're seeing, okay, if it comes down to it, if we ain't got no more stickers, can we put scuffs on, and are we fast enough, to win this race? And that's definitely what he's thinking when he's running out there on these old tires.
What do you think he's learning right now? Is this maybe a science experiment? Is he learning that this doesn't work? Sometimes you have to kind of be stubborn and learn it for yourself, even though you've seen it not work before?
That's exactly right. I think he's wanted to take a look at it for himself.
Here's Blaine Adams coming down pit road. We saw on the top of your screen he has to get some repairs fixed here. And he's going to pop the wall right there. And that probably likely broke a toe link or something worse. So Blaine Adams, no caution. We're going to keep racing here. He's going to get down off the track. And there we go. Well, here is the front. It's now Drew Wilkie leading this field around.
Drew Wilkie, great looking truck, 63 truck. Been fast early on, and it's fast now.
And he is doing a great job here, is Wilkie. And now it's Kalen, Holly, Daniel Knight, and Robert Barney on back. Here's the battle again. This is Ted Lowendick now. Back there with Garrett Austin and other drivers. This is the battle for P12.
I believe Colton Easterday is also in this battle. Great racing.
Yeah, a lot of great racing happened here at Texas. Well, want to bring up again tonight, of course, this race at Texas having lots of fun, lots of beating, banging, passing, and excitement. Remember, this is Memorial Race. This is the CM Pennington 44. CM Pennington, a driver who raced with many of these competitors in previous leagues, always wore the number 44 on his truck proudly whenever he raced in any race he was in. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a step back here in just a moment and honor CM Pennington. It's hard to believe it's already been 2 years since the last time myself or Joey Tebbin or Justin Prince, Evan Posocco, or anyone else has seen CM Pennington on track. His family and friends would talk about how in his last days he wanted to watch the league races. He would pull up the broadcast and cheer on his friends, Zach Panzarella and others, as they raced around the track. As we approach the 44-minute mark of this race, we're going to sit quiet for 1 minute in honor of CM Pennington. After a silent 44th minute in honor of CM Pennington, we're back here live on Green Flag TV. Drew Wilkie, Mark Kane, and Bradley Holly, your top three. And this battle, Emmett, is live. This battle, look at that, as we see another attempt to pass by Bradley Holly.
Yeah, Bradley Holly's going to drive it to the inside. He'll get past Mark Kalen. Now he's got his set on Wilkie. Here he goes, Derrick. He's trying to get to the inside. That's where I think he's going to make his move. That's where we just saw him beat Kalen. And, yep, there he goes right there to the inside, trying to get to the quarter panel.
Try again, and Wilkie's riding about a half lane, maybe more up on the track. To come down the back straight, has that big, giant Jumbotron in real life. You can watch yourself sometimes on the track from that Tron. These guys are not doing that. They're focused on the battle here. Look at that, Mark Kalen digging a little bit deeper than Bradley Holly through the corner.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add, during the Daytona 500, they have a watch party at Texas Motor Speedway, and they show the 500 on Big Hoss. So,
Big Hoss, of course, is that giant screen in the back. And by the way, we talked about how it's a big panel, right? It's now certified by the Guinness Book of World Records as the biggest high-def screen in existence. And I believe there's currently plans to expand it by another 10% in size.
Yes, they have been talking about that. Of course, we also forgot to add Eddie Gossage was the track promoter here for many years. Eddie retired at the end of 2022, I believe, 23. Mm-hmm. So I was actually able to watch the last All-Star race that we had at Texas. And they did a drone show, and it was really cool. And they said, thank you, Eddie, for all you did, for what you done and stuff. And so shout out to Eddie Gossage for being a great track promoter for many years.
Eddie at times referred to himself almost like a carnival barker, right? In the early 2000s,
Yes.
Eddie was known for gimmicks, right? Let's come back to that in a second. We'll talk about Eddie, but here's a battle for P1. Bradley Holly's going to try and make the move here. A little low in the corner, did not get all the speed out of the corner. See if he can make it work in 3 and 4. Mark Kalen's going to stick in the middle, not offer a draft to anybody. And for the moment, I think Wilkie is playing defense, but Bradley Holly's going to eke it out.
Yeah, Holly's got that truck. He looks good on the bottom. That's how he got around Kalen, and that's how he was able to pull up to Wilkie's bumper. But yeah, Holly's got a great truck, but Wilkie's truck on the top line is just as great too.
A little loose there by Wilkie that you saw the truck wiggle a little bit. Now they're side by side down the back straight into 3 and 4.
Oh,
remember, these are the corners that have more banking. So who does that benefit more, do you think?
You know, that's a good question. I think you get a good run ripping the fence, you can, or you could run that bottom line and get the momentum. I think it's 50-50 either way.
Well, here's turns 1 and 2, 20 degrees of banking. There's Bradley Holly on the Zoom webcam, looking focused in, kind of hunched down in the seat, locked in, taking the lead. There's Mark Kalen, the driver, right behind him. They're both trying to get around Drew Wilkie. Wilkie doing an amazing job on the top lane here, trying to play defense, trying to pinch the runs, trying to do anything. He's got Holly by him, but he's trying to hold off Mark Kalen.
Yeah, trying to hold off Mark Kalen. And now we see Wilkie's going to jump out to the high line.
Mark Kalen almost stuck that in there somewhere it wasn't supposed to fit.
Yeah, he almost tried to make that truck get up in there, but it just wouldn't fit. It was too tight, so that's why he backed out right there.
Now it's Kalen and Wilkie side by side. And meanwhile, the beneficiary of this battle is Daniel Knight. Look at that right behind him. Daniel Knight is now tucked up in this battle. He is excited to pounce whenever the moment is correct in that 17 truck.
Yeah, definitely looking to pounce. He's just like a panther, just watching his prey, watching the little gazelle out there just eating. And when the moment's
like
right,
watching the Lion King all over again, isn't it?
Yes, it is, for sure. But I wanted to add, Derrick, back in 2023, a guy by the name of Gordy Schroeder started a festival 10 years before that up in Idaho called Highway 30 Fest. And he actually brought it down to Texas Motor Speedway, sold it out. It was Gordy's Highway 30 Texas Edition Fest. Had Zach Bryan, Tanner Usray, Turnpike Troubadours, you name it. Great festival. So just wanted to throw that out there also.
Yeah, we were talking a moment ago about some of the gimmicks from Texas in the past, right? And something that Gossage had brought to the track to try to attract the crowds. So get some of this stuff. Back in the 2000s, of course, we brought in the post-race celebration of the drivers firing the blanks and the 6 shooters. That makes pretty sense, right? One moment, I think during a truck race, he hired an all-female pit crew to service a car, a little bit gimmick.
Jennifer Good Joe Cop. Yes.
Yep, brought the British television show Top Gear, into the track. But my favorite, and the one I did not know, he trained monkeys to sell souvenir programs to the audience pre-raced back in 2000s.
Yes, I have heard that for many years, from many different people. But yes, that is confirmed. I did some research also, and yeah.
Do you believe that the crowd went bananas when they saw that happening?
Yes, I believe they went bananas, but I got to witness the first All-Star race here. I told you it was the last, it was the first one when Kyle Larson won that All-Star race, so got to see that milestone here at Texas. Set right up there, at turn 1, actually.
Well, if you were sitting right there in turn 1 tonight, you see an incredible battle between
Definitely.
Bradley Holly and Mark Kanan. Mark even gave a small little boop to the back of Bradley Holly a moment ago through the quad oval. And Mark, someone known for burning up a lot of gas, a lot of tires, is doing an incredible job here. By the way, I think right now, as we sit here with about, 23 minutes to go, this is about halfway through the run, assuming we stay green. We last pitted on lap 51. We're now on lap 80. And I think it's about halfway between the yellow and the end if we stay green. So right now for these drivers, I wonder who's happy and who's not happy with their trucks.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be. I mean, and also, what are we going to see? Are we going to see somebody stay out? If we get a late race caution? Or are we going to see somebody gamble and just take fuel only to make it to the end?
Well,
Or
it's
two
hard to
tires?
believe after what happened to Lowendick, Regan, Hogue, and others. It's hard to believe anyone has the courage to stay out, right? That's just, it's not impossible. Speaking of not staying out, here's a truck down pit road.
Steve Baker.
And that's Baker. That's Steve Baker coming down pit road. So we'll see if that starts a string of pit stops. He's not the only one. Also, Brett Adams is down there. So we'll see if maybe there's some pit stops incoming here at the halfway point in this run.
Yeah.
All right,
This
well,
is,
again, look at this. Maybe a little bit of gap has opened up, by the way, between Holly and Kalen here. With about 21 minutes to go.
Yeah, Kalen coming right. He's right there. He's got that little bit of gap that Holly has on Kalen. But these two racing this hard, that's going to allow Daniel Knight to come up into the picture in not too long.
You see some trucks coming off the pit road. They'll have to merge up here into the traffic. And that was Brett Adams on the bottom of your screen. There's Andrew Sharp in that red, white, and blue 24. That new sort of, I guess, hip style font, we call that. But here's Drew Wilkie. He's fallen back a little. I say a little bit. Only back to P5. So in the grand scheme of things, not the worst.
Could
But
he
I
be
guess compared to
saved?
where he was. Maybe it's out of tires. It's probably more likely you see Nicholas Schwartz down pit road. But you're right. Could he be saving? I don't know. If people are already pitting, I don't think you're saving for the end. I think maybe you're just trying to, I don't know.
Yeah, that's bit interesting.
By the way, speaking of cars who pitted, Richard Regan Jr. pitted a few laps ago. He's now back down in P22. He's a first
Wow.
car, one lap down. So that will be okay as long as it stays green in that field, pits around. He'll be okay. He'll be back in the lead lap. But what he's hoping for, as Holly, as Kalen, as Knight and others go lap by lap across this track, he's hoping those new tires make a speed difference. Let's look at it here. Regan last time a 30.2. Kalen and Holly last time a 31.5. So over a second per lap difference on newer tires.
Yeah, definitely.
There's the on-screen numbers for you. So look at that. Look at that number in the middle. That's the interval between Holly and Regan. Now, it's not a true interval because there is a one lap between them. So it's not going to pass with these, going to pass with a lap back. But look how quick that number in the middle was counting down, Emmett.
Look at Robert Barney. Yeah, it's definitely gaining, and that's what these new tires will do. But I was going to say, meanwhile, look at Robert Barney trying to get the third position from Daniel Knight.
Yeah, there goes Autumn's in the bottom. He has new tires. Look at that. We're going to say a picture's worth 1,000 words. And oh my gosh, those words were almost bad ones. As that guy's going to tag Bradley Holly. But you say a picture's worth 1,000 words. Look at all 1,000 words you could use to express how powerful new tires are at Texas.
Yeah, just like I'm going to be like a broken record, but tires, just like I said in the pre-race.
So a big topic we focus on all night is about mental toughness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being in slumps, being in grooves, being in this, being in that. So talk to me about being a driver, being a Bradley Holly, being a Mark Kalin. You just watched Brett Adams pass you like you were standing still. What does that do to you as a driver?
Well, I think it makes you want to come in and get tires. Definitely, because you take a look at Adams, who's just pitted and got those fresh tires, and you see how fast he's picked up and just past y'all standing still. That definitely makes me want to come and get some tires for sure, as we see Ted Lowendick on pit road this time in the 16th, 17th position.
Yep, that Gumming cluster truck coming on down pit road. He'll get new tires and gas, be ready to go for the end.
Robert Barney.
Here's Robert Barney now looking at the bottom. And more calls of pitting coming across the radios. You see trucks
Bradley
coming
Holly
down pit road. Bradley Holly's down. He's going to give up the lead to Mark Kalin.
Daniel Knight. What a save by Thomas Sink, though.
Yeah, great job here. So now here's Mark Kalin. Let's see how much longer he wants to run it out here. I think we're going to hear maybe pitting this time for Kalin and others. Let's see, he's got it down to the bottom of the track. That looks a little too fast to be pitting, so I think he's going to keep it going around that. If you're Mark Kalin, you saw how fast Brett Adams is passing you lap by lap. So what's the motivation to stay out, do you think?
I don't know. Take a look. What a save by Thomas Sink. I think you just stay out trying to build on, you get the field. Say he gets the field a lap down, then he can come in and get his stop, and he won't lose as much time on the second place truck when these pit stops cycle around.
Well, here he is. He's going to come down pit road. That sounds a little fast, a little wiggly, and he's turned it around. That's going to throw away a lead, unfortunately, for Mark Kalin, as Dustin Bumgarner barely got by. Bumgarner black flagged, by the way, possibly speeding down pit road. And how about Kalin did not get black flagged? That sounds opposite what I expected.
So now Robert Barney will get the race lead, but we should see Barney come in.
Eventually, Barney will come in, and this time, see the truck slowing up there. Much better entry than Mark Kalin. Meanwhile, back on track here, that's Austin Hunter. He's going to lead a lap here. We talked about needing to get out of a slump and maybe find that happiness in iRacing. Leading a lap at Texas on the broadcast will probably do it for you.
Yeah, get to talk about you a little bit, Mr. Austin Hunter. Looking, I don't see a sponsor, so if anyone, that also helps, for sponsorship. Somebody sees he's out front and got the finger guns going, great animation, seeing that. So that definitely helps with the sponsorship and being able to land a solid sponsor.
Yeah, Austin, very busy in real life. He does some spotting for some real life racing for a couple friends. As a father to a son, incredible father he is. Has an addiction to the EA Sports College Football 25 with some of the members of Whataback Racing. Has an iRacing addiction, so lots going on there. But let's go ahead and look back at the front here. This is Bradley Holly. This is for the net leads. We still got a few drivers for them. Zachary Burnt, Evan Williams, Steve Loving, and Nicholas Serap, who've not pitted. But right now, look at this. Bradley Holly is out in front of Richard Regan by about 2 seconds. So when all is said and done in the pit cycles, if it stays like it is, Holly is going to lead here when all is said and done.
Yeah. What a move.
So here's Drew Wilkie, by the way. He's currently back in P10. He'll be back in P6 after the pit stops, and he's all over the back end of the 51. That's Jeff Evans.
As we see rookie. Oh,
Jacob
black
Dunn,
flag.
black
Jacob
flag.
Dunn.
Likely speeding on pit road. Man, oh man. Talk about esports between James Morgan getting involved in a wreck and having cars flip over him. Dunn, of course, was slow on the grass already to avoid a wreck. Now he's got black flag. Talk about esports. Not having a great night so far.
Yeah, golly. I think he would looked like he was doing his all-star. Looks like he was doing his all-star lap qualifying right there.
And it did, didn't it? Yep.
Man.
Well, here's Steve Loving on your screen. Remember last week's winner in that old Microsoft Retro machine? 4 1,000ths of a second. That's what it was last week. You saw the snapshots live on the broadcast. And then I think Mr. Hedge provided some photos in the PSR Discord for the drivers of that finish as well. So a very high mark for Steve Loving last week. Well, here we are, about 13 and a half minutes to go in this race. Now finally to a long green flag run after some uncertainty. Oh, I did it. Gosh darn it. Caution's out. And Zach Burnt, one of the drivers who was yet to pit.
The announcer's curse.
This will be interesting to see what impact this has. That's going to be Dustin Bumgarner behind him.
I think he was loose before that, though.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he just kind of got a little loose and maybe a little tap at the end, but I think that was caused by burnt. Maybe some old tires playing a factor there.
Definitely. Maybe had a little pulp on
Well,
those tires.
so now the question becomes for some of these drivers, I mean, we're now working lap 99. Watch it one more time. Yep, just got loose and then got a little small tap here. Pick on drivers like a Brett Adams pitted lap 82. Richard Regan pitted lap 81. It's hard to believe they won't come down pit road again, right?
Right, but like you said, how many sets does Richard Regan have left?
That'd be a good question.
Because
Should have one more, I think, at least. I don't think we've had, with that long green flag run, there shouldn't be many more left. But then again, what happens to the trucks up front? So they'll come up here. Here's Saraf, Loving, Williams. They're going to come down. Doug Evans stays out, I believe. Austin Hunter stays out.
Bradley Holly. Zach Burnt comes in. Brian Tubb gets a black flag.
So you see different drivers coming down pit road here. Wait, confirm who stays out. Steve Loving stayed out. Bradley Holly, of course, Daniel Knight, and others. Did I just see no food on that truck?
I think the damage was too much, and they just decided to cut that hood off. And
Well, I guess you have a little self-cooling system there, don't you?
yeah, turns it from a Craftsman truck to a Wayland modified real quick.
Yeah, I think Brian's really only coming out during caution, though, trying to get some free laps in, make sure he can salvage any spots. But I don't think we've seen him on track since that big wreck where he went, or cars went flying and trucks went flying. All right, well, Bradley Holly will be your race leader. So here on the left side of your screen, Emmett, this is how many laps it's been since everybody pitted. So 10 or 11 laps for your leaders, 9 for Wilkie, and so on. And you get back to P9, Nicholas Saraf, Steve Loving, Evan Williams, Richard Regan, Zachary Burnt, and others. Well, I hate asking the question because I think it's sort of a negative look, but with these new tires, old tire battle, is it likely we see some pretty brutal racing up ahead, or do the new tires just kind of power on the outside, or what happens here?
That's an interesting question for sure, Derek. I don't know, because they haven't had that many laps on the tires. As we've seen, it's only been 10 laps. Now, if it was about 30 or 40 laps, maybe, but as we see the other trucks take their wave around. But that's a good question. It'll be interesting for sure.
As you hinted, a couple of drivers there got the wave around, so that Napa machine going around, and a couple others here. We're going to delay this green one lap here, so I think everyone gets caught up and has a fair restart. So I say one less lap, but also less time. Remember, that's how this league runs, is time. It's not laps. You see that time is ticking away here. And these are roughly a minute and a half caution laps. So that's worse than laps ticking off. Emmett, if you think about under green, we're doing 30-second laps, so we're going to tick off basically 3 green flag laps by delaying this caution.
Yeah, I mean, basically, if you think about it, it's kind of like a real lap in the under caution, because it would take, 3 laps to complete a caution. So this really plays into the factor of the strategy. But another thing, Derrick, do you come in? Well, you can't really choose if you want stickers or scuffs on iRacing,
Nope.
but if you do come in, can you still put on scuffs if you're out of stickers?
No, you're out. You're out. So
Wow.
that is a concern. But right now, I think what this really plays into a hand is for Bradley Holly, for Daniel Knight, for Ted Lowedick, for these drivers who didn't just pit. These are less laps that's likely the field could get around them, right? And think about this. We're only about 2 cautions away from this race being done. So I know there's no bigger proponent in PSR in the SimGamingExpo Truck Series for green flag racing than Bradley Holly. But if it meant 2 cautions could secure him a win, he might be a little more okay with it.
Yeah, we might see a cup or something fly out of that truck for sure.
Yep. Well, here we are, going to come racing with about less than 8 minutes to go. So if we stay green, that's about 14 laps of racing we can still have left here live on Green Flag TV. Thanks for sticking with us. We're not done this week. Tomorrow night, the Speed Cup Series. Nolan Ripples with you live. Saturday night, the NASCAR Classic Series. Sunday, 3 different events. The Classic IndyCar Series, Blazing Pedals, and ASRL live here on Green Flag TV. So don't miss an action. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you see every exciting moment. Well, here we are. Speaking of exciting moments, possibly for the last time tonight, a restart here at Texas. Bradley Holly's looking to hold on. Richard Regan and others looking to catch up on new tires. What will happen? Let's find out as we go green at Texas.
Yeah, Bradley Holly got a great launch on the restart. Daniel Knight isn't able to get up next to him, and he'll tuck into second, but look at Ted Lowendick. Ted Lowendick trying to get around Knight. As Knight's trying to... This is a 3-way battle for the lead, Derrick.
Yeah, remember, Nick Surratt, currently, I believe, in P8, the first truck on new tires. Now, what may be to Holly's advantage is all the trucks behind him were also on old tires. That may serve as a bit of like a tackling dummy or a blockade to slow those trucks down. We'll see what happens here. So we're now about 6 minutes and 45 seconds away from a checkered flag at him. 2, almost 3 wide through turns 1 and 2. Andrew Sharp on the inside, Thomas Sink in the middle, Robert Barney on the outside.
Yeah, as we take a look, 3 wide down the backstretch. Sink up high, Sharp in the middle, Regan to the bottom. Regan's going to get the advantage. Regan's going to get the pass. They touch. Sharp and Sink get into contact, and that's going to put Sharp dropping back as we see a battle for the lead going on right now.
Battle for the lead indeed. Look at this. 1, 2, 3. Holly, Knight, and Lowendick. Now, they almost, if you're Holly, this is not what you want, right? Because the more you battle,
Right.
the quicker you're letting Richard Regan and the others get up there. Richard Regan in P7, Evan Williams in P8, the first 2 trucks on those newer tires. Like Brad's still locked in, pretty calm. But what I like to see here, you and I talked about this last week, very little movement out of that wheel.
Yeah, very little movement, and definitely, but you got to be thinking in the back of his mind, he's thinking, where's Richard Regan? Where's
Ted,
Richard
by the way?
Regan? Ted Lowendick?
That's Ted Lowendick. And maybe you don't want to know where Richard Regan is because he just set the fastest lap of the race at 29.753. So he is cruising here in the Lone Star State.
Yeah, he's definitely coming up there, and look at Ted Lowendick, just focused, man. Must have had a handful of clusters before the race.
Getting passed by Richard Regan's what he's getting right now. Look at that. Regan powers through the middle. Got Drew Wilkie on the outside. Had Lowendick in the middle. There's Richard sitting in the VR. Has all the sponsors' info behind him. Now look at this wheel. Look at him gripping a little tight. Getting this paddle shifting in. Look at the difference in the wheel movement here. Just a little bit more force feedback. A little bit more input out of that wheel.
Yeah, but he does have those fresher tires, so he can drive her in there a little bit deeper than the rest of this field can on these older tires. Look at the run.
Here he comes. Hold on. Look at this. It's the same view. One on board,
Man.
Richard Regan. One from the TV cameras, and Regan trying to dig to the inside of Daniel Knight and see what he does here in the 3.
Yeah, here comes Richard Regan. He'll set him up into 3, trying to get to the outside. Just can't do it. Can't get up to the corner panel. Daniel Knight's going to continue to hold on to the second place.
Now, don't forget, last week, Knight and Regan had that contact. Regan left the race upset at Daniel Knight, said, I thought we were cool. Maybe we're not. Are they cool? We're about to find out because Regan's powering around the outside.
Yeah, Regan got a great run on that outside line. He'll shoot into the number 2 spot. Now he's going for the lead. Here comes Richard Regan, battling for the lead as they go into turn 3.
Regan now is powered by Easy. This is those new tires. Daniel Knight tries to make a move on Bradley Holly.
Man.
And with 3 minutes and 45 seconds to go, Richard Regan once again leads at Texas. It's now Regan, Holly, Knight, Wilkie, Lowendick, and Evans, your top 6.
Yeah, we see right here, Holly looking what he can do, trying to see if he can get a little bump. As we saw Knight give him a little push down that backstretch to catch up to Kalen early on. But look at Wilkie. Wilkie's going to get around Knight side by side as they come out of turn 4.
In lots of battles happening across the track. Saw Jeff Evans in that 51 a moment ago. And many battles going. But right now, back to front. You said there's Wilkie. He's now to the inside. He's now trying to get around Daniel Knight. He's got him on the inside. Now, can Knight play defense? Can Knight stop him from getting up that track and getting up? I think he did right there.
Yeah, we see a little extracurricular going on further back in the pack. Just a little contact, a little beating and banging. Get somebody madder than a hornet in an old Coke can. But yeah, look at Wilkie on the inside, just being able to drive around Daniel Knight for the time being. But Knight's
Look at that 6. Look at that 6 from behind. He's benefiting from the beating and banging. That 6 is powering. Remember, he also has newer tires. He was stoked to see that battle happen. He's now going to try to go to the inside here. Maybe not in turn 3. I thought he was.
Thought he was too, but I think Wilkie slammed the door on him and shut off the draft because he was about to get the side draft to get alongside the 63.
There he
Here
is.
he
Now
goes.
down in
3
turn
wide.
1. 3 wide. Evans, Wilkie, Knight, they're going to work it out. Evans gets around. Now, can Evans get around Bradley Holly? Only about 2 minutes left. 2 minutes on the clock here. Let's see if Evans gets around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5
man.
wide in Texas. My goodness, that was Andrew Sharp and Austin Hunter and others. There's Brian Tope on the bottom of the track, just trying to turn some laps here.
Good Lord, this is getting crazy.
This is the
Evan
battle for
Williams.
2. Now, you would think Evans would have the easier time. Remember, he has those newer tires. Here's a crazy thought. They're only about 10 lap newer tires, but they feel so powerful.
Yeah, I wish Evans should go to the high line. Evans should go to the high line because I think he can get around. As we see Austin Hunter get the meatball.
Yep,
Wow.
and in the race there. And maybe just tap the wall too hard. Well, let's find out here. Here we go. 1
There he
minute
goes.
left on the clock. Williams to the inside and quickly powers around Bradley Holly. That's those new tires. Let's keep talking about it. It's impressive what 10 laps will do for you. All right, well, here we go. Richard Regan comes around here. Next time by will be the white flag. There's Austin
man.
Hunter to the inside. Made contact with, I think, James O'Brien possibly. I think it's the truck I saw up there.
Wow, no caution.
And that is there. All right, here we go. Richard Regan's going to come around to the back street. You saw the big, giant, big Haas TV screen. This time by Barney the flag man will show him the white flag. Richard Regan, a multi-time Truck Series champion. And caution, this is going to be the end right here. Richard Regan will win at Texas.
Wow.
They cut me off. I had a whole blurb planned on how I was going to celebrate Richard, and there we go. Well, Richard's going to come around one more time and take the checkered flag. Of course, Richard, the head admin of Premier Sim Racing, has helped with some friends put together the SimGamingExpo Truck Series. Real life racer, busy.
What a way to bounce
Busy
back.
man. and a great man. Remember, had that wreck last week, left here dejected. This week, he is up in victory lane. Well, going to come around here. We'll take the checkered flag this time by. We'll get it all sorted out. And yep, checkered flag on the top of your screen. So for the first.
Look at old Barney waving that flag.
Yeah, there we go.
Well, he's
first
happy.
time Premier Sim Racing goes to Texas. The winner is Richard Regan Jr.
What a great race.
Incredible race it was. Some great green flag racing, some strategy calls, some bump drafts. There's the words I didn't think I'd say.
Some high flyers.
And many more. Yeah, some high flyers. Yeah, that's true too. I almost forgot about that. How you could. All right. As they all come around here, we're going to wait and see if Richard Regan wants to burn it down or how he's going to celebrate this win here. All right, well, let's go ahead and take a look at the grid and see how what the results were. We'll come back and see what Richard does with that truck. Richard Regan Jr. victory here. Revan Williams in second. Bradley Hollies in P3. Daniel Knights in 4. Steve Baker in P5. Drew Wilkie in P6. And Steve Loving, Robert Barney, Ted Lowendick, and Nicholas Saraf round out your top 10.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Thomas Sink in 11th. Jeff Evans in 12th. 13th, Zach Burke. 14th, Andrew Sharp. 15th, Colton Easterday. 16th, Mike Toomer Jr. 17th, Zachary Williams. 18th, Mark Kalin. Tough break for Mark Kalin. 19th, Doug Evans. And in 20th, Stacy Hunter.
Moving back into P21 is Brett Adams with Garrett Austin in P22. Those are the last cars on the lead lap. Reese Bogue, Dustin Bumgarner, and James O'Brien all one lap down. And then 2 or more laps down. Nicholas Schwartz, Austin Hunter, Jacob Dunn, Kyle Dewey, and Nathan Deering rounding out your top 30.
Yeah, 31st, we find Nick Hunter, Blaine Adams in 32nd. Brian Tope, who had a tough day, in 33rd. 34th is where you find Brandon Walter. 35th, Colton Lane, who's involved in that first caution. 36th, James Morgan. 37th, Nick Baer. 38th, Matt Gagnon. 39th, Josh Conquer. And Nathan Ray rounds out your field.
Yeah, Nathan Ray did not race. So 39 trucks, top to bottom look at your Premier Sim Racing SimGamingExpo Truck Series results. So there it is. Everything's bigger in Texas. Let's keep the burnouts hold that true as well. No smoke yet for Richard Regan Jr. Kind of did a couple small loop-to-loops. There is a little bit. Yeah, there you see the skid marks on the ground.
I think back to 2006 when Casey Kane did that burnout across the front stretch, all the way into turn 4, all the way to the quad oval.
Seems to be a trend we're seeing a lot. See who can almost hold the burnout the longest has become maybe a contest at times this season. There he is. There he's turning them around and burning them down. Congrats to Richard Regan Jr.
Oh my gosh.
Woo. Let's take it a
Was
moment.
that Diego Knight?
It may have been. I wasn't sure. There you go. Now Richard's having fun, just kind of turning him around and getting. Now he's upsetting the groundskeepers.
Yeah.
Now he's going to come down here and get ready for some photo opportunities. Come down pit road here. Now some of the tracks here, Emmett, as we get new and new refreshes on iRacing, have victory lane accessible. Texas, not one of them, unfortunately, so no victory lane visit for Richard Regan Jr.
Look at that shot. Wow.
What an incredible race.
Huge shout out to Whiplash SimCams for giving us these awesome shots.
All right, well, wait a moment here. We'll get Richard Regan Jr. ready, and I think he is now ready. Well, he went from having a disappointing end to last week to an incredible end this week. Richard, you've won at Texas.
Yeah, definitely a crazy race. I was a little surprised when everyone pit, when it was only me and a couple other people that stayed out, but was kind of banking on a caution at that point after a pit cycle. I didn't think that when the caution came out that I would have enough time to try to drive my way up, but luckily I did, and James and Reese were on the same strategy I was, but I think they made a mistake, and I think they came down pit road too early and got lapped or something, but it's unfortunate for them, but overall it was a good night.
So I have to ask you the obvious in my mind right now. When you left last week, you were disappointed and frustrated. The quote, I believe, was, "I thought the 17 and I were cool." Well, tonight you passed him clean and everything seemed cool. So have you guys hashed it out? Have you talked about it? Is it cool? What's the status there?
No, he hasn't reached out to me. So, I don't know. I just take every race by race. So, you know, I don't really try to focus too much on the past, but, you know, I got a good memory. So we'll see what happens, in the future with us racing. And if he wants to race me clean, going forward, then nothing, like no hard feelings on my end for him. But, cause I understand mistakes happen here and there, but, yeah, no, he hasn't reached out to me.
So, as a league admin, we'll talk to you for a second. Tonight, you guys made the decision to stop and make this the CM Pennington 44 in honor of CM Pennington. What does it mean to you? What does it mean to the league? And why do you think it was important to have this memorial at this track?
To me, it's important because, you know, most of us came from a different league that did shut down. So, you know, we're all pretty much still the same community. We got a couple of new guys here and there, but for the most part, like 80% of the field is the same community. And, you know, CM Pennington was around for a while in that previous league. And, you know, when his passing was announced, it was quite devastating for a lot of us and very sad. So we figured we would like to dedicate a couple races a year to those that have passed that are no longer with us. And this was the first one on the schedule. And next season, we'll have another one.
All right. Well, Richard, congrats on the win. Great job tonight. And we'll see you next week at Kansas.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to give a shout out to CM Pennington's family. I'd like to give a shout out to Mission 22, Multiple Sclerosis Society, Neonism Paints, Mr. Hedge Photography, Stant Analyzer,
Your girlfriend's cupcake business.
Yep, Kaylee Sweet Creations, everybody on Regenboog Motorsports. Overall, like I said earlier, good night tonight. Everyone that supports Premier Sim Racing, and you guys at Green Flag TV.
So listen, I forgot to ask you, if I commit to going to the Sim Gaming Expo in Chicago, am I finally getting my cupcake?
Maybe. I gotta ask her.
That's not the answer you're supposed to give right there. That was the incorrect answer.
I gotta ask I gotta ask the baker and see if the cupcakes will make the flight or not. But if they will, then absolutely.
All right, Richard. Well, great job tonight. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thanks, buddy. All right. Well, with that is Richard Regan Jr. finishing P1 tonight, and I now believe that Emmett Crow has caught up with P2, Evan Williams.
Evan, man, it seemed like you were coming fast and furious, and you just ran out of laps. How close were you to getting to Regan?
Man, I definitely felt like I was catching him for sure. After I got around Holly, I saw I was running faster lap times than Rich was, but I don't know if there would have been enough time for me to get to him. But I mean, I was definitely coming. If we would have had I don't know, 3-5 more minutes or so, I think I could have been there.
Well, talk about how you build on this finish as we go on next week to Kansas. How do you build on this as you go into America's Heartland?
Man, I mean, I love the bigger tracks. I mean, the short track racing is definitely not where I excel. So, you know, this track definitely helped out a little bit. I mean, I'm excited to get into some different stuff. I mean, I didn't have the best run at Bristol, so I mean, you know, I think it'll help with the points, but I don't know. We'll see how it turns out.
All right. Is there anyone you'd like to thank out there?
Man, just all my friends, family, you know, watching me race. It's super cool. You guys putting on the broadcast, super awesome. Everybody, Prophet Python, and yeah, RBM for having me on their team. Super stoked.
All right, that is Evan Williams finishing P2, and now it's time to catch up with P3, the driver who led some laps tonight, the driver who's won many races in his career. Bradley Holly, you finished P3. That was an up and down night.
Yeah, definitely a frustrating night. Can't play any strategy right now. It's kind of frustrating at this point.
So, looking back on it, when that last, well, I guess the next to last caution comes out, do you wish you would have pitted? Or do you think you made the right call?
I was out of tires.
Oh, okay. Well, that solves that problem.
We were banking on, if that caution didn't come out halfway through after I got by Richard, our strategy was definitely going to be the top strategy. We kind of tricked Richard, I guess, or that was his plan. I'm not sure, but
He said he got caught off guard.
okay, yeah, that was, if it stayed green, it was going to be between me, Daniel Knight, and whoever else was there. But as soon as that caution came out, I knew it was over.
So obviously this race goes green for a while. I know you were kind of frustrated in the beginning by some of the yellows, but having this big long green flag run at Texas, is this encouraging for the future of what this league will do the rest of the season?
I'll be more encouraged when I see our cautions per race go down. That's my goal, is to get everybody in this league to settle down, give each other space. It's new. Everybody's trying to get through these big fields, and there's a lot of mistakes being made that can be avoided. But this is part of growing pains in a new league, and I believe in these guys, and I know they will be able to get things together where we can have hopefully a green flag race.
The last question I have is kind of not about you, it's about one of your best friends. We talked tonight in the broadcast about the sort of the evolution of Mark Kalin. What do you think has caused Mark to sort of wake up in his first few races at PSR? Like, has won a race, had a very close finish last week, led laps tonight. Do you think Mark's just putting more time in? How proud are you of Mark for his evolution?
Very proud. He's definitely putting in a lot of time. He still makes his Mark Kalin mistakes, but for the most part, he's doing a great job. And I hope he keeps doing it and improving. But I'm still going to always try to beat him, no matter what race we're at.
All right. Well, next week we go to Kansas, so I got to ask: are you the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, the Cowardly Lion? Who are you from the Wizard of Oz? You have too much of a voice to be the Cowardly Lion.
No, I don't see. I feel like I have the heart, so I feel like I'm the Tin Man.
You're not the Wicked Witch of the East, are you? Or the West?
No, that's Mark.
That's fair enough. There's a scary image I got in my head right now.
All right. You gonna tap on your red heels? You gonna tap them together?
Like home.
Oh, Mark in red heels is terrifying.
That's gonna not sleep tonight. Well, Brad, listen, great job on P3, and we'll see you next week in Kansas.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, that is Bradley Holly. Bradley Holly got me all flustered, finishing P3 here tonight at Texas. Well, what an incredible race it was, Emmett. Lots of passing, lots of beating, lots of banging, lots of bump drafts, lots of flying cars. What a fun race.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun race. What a great race to be a part of. Each and every time I get to come in here and check out the SimGamingExpo Truck Series, it is definitely fun, and I love being able to call with you, Derrick. It's always a good time. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Well, as we said, there's no place like home, and that's where we're headed next week, to Kansas Speedway. 1 week from tonight, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, live here on Green Flag TV. I'll be here. This Evan Posocco guy is taking like 3 races off now. Maybe he'll be back. Maybe he won't. Maybe he's got like a bad bitten game or something. I don't know. But regardless, we'll be here live to help you along. Well, listen, you thought tonight was fun. You thought the trucks at Texas were fun. We're going to send you over to the Beer League live here on Green Flag TV. Catch this. The Legends 34, Magello, and Rain. It is currently a wet track at Magello. They're racing the Legends Coupes, and we're going there now, and we'll see you next week.